everyone has wisdom and ignorance in their hearts according to the Puranas and Vedas. Where wisdom rules, there is prosperity, and where ignorance rules, there are failures and setbacks.
पूज्य पंडित जी 5 मिनट बाद
5 मिनट कितना है बे?
5 मिनट
5 मिनट अब बे? ओ तब तो है, धन्य है आपके। 5 मिनट अब है ना, that is good, thank you very much ना। 5 मिनट अब है, शुक्रिया। कागज पर हम लिख ली, लिस्ट है। मुझ मंगलमय संत समाजो, जो जग जंगम तीरथ राजो, राम भक्ति जहाँ सुर सरि धारा, सरसई ब्रह्म विचार प्रचारा। The assemblage of sons, which is all joy and felicity, is the great Tirth Prayag, endowed with motion. We are now here in this room in Prayag. Here is Prayag, yes. Here is Saraswati, Ganga, Jamuna, all the rivers. Peoples over the world is here coming. Ramleela conference, first Ramleela conference in Trinidad. I am very glad and proud. राम नाम मनि दीप धरी, जी दे हरिद्वार, तुलसी भीतर बाहिर, जो चाहत उजियार, सिया पति रामचंद्र की जय। And this doha is very important. If you would have light within and without, place the luminous name of Ram on your tongue like a jeweled lamp and the threshold of the door, O Tulsidas. In this period, Kali Yug Numan way, Numan is, we say in Dutch, Kali Yug, Ram ke naam sabse sahaj. Ulta naam japata jag jana, Balmiki baya ब्रह्म समाना। राम राम की जगह पर मरा मरा बोल करके आज अपन नाम अमर करके, ओम सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिना, सर्वे सन्तु निरामया, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुर्भाग् भवेत्। May we God bless you all. You are here. I am very glad in this conference. Thank you all for you have given me the chance to speak to you, and I have spoken in broken English and some Dutch words, but I like Audi and Braj Bhasha and Hindi, Manak Hindi. Thank you very much, everybody.
Param Pujya, Pandit Balram ji, many thanks on behalf of all of us. Let's give him a round of applause again for having joined us with those pearls of wisdom. Our next speaker will speak on Ramleela as a complement to the education thrust of the Swaha Gyaan Jyoti Mandali. Pandit Jaidath Maharaj is the spiritual leader of the Swaha Gyaan Jyoti Mandali, a director of Swaha, and the current president of Swaha International. He holds an undergraduate degree in accounting, a postgraduate diploma in education administration, and is in the thesis stage of the Masters in Education. He also holds the position of Manager Quality Assurance at the Arthur Lockjack Graduate School of Business, University of the West Indies. I now invite Pandit Jaidath Maharaj ji to address us. Pandit ji.
Chairman of the panel, fellow presenters, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, to each and every one of you, I say Sitaram. As mentioned, my presentation today is on Ramleela as a complement to the Educational Trust of the Swaha Gyaan Jyoti Mandali. For the members of the Swaha Gyaan Jyoti Mandali, Ramleela by itself is not an end. We see Ramleela as a means to achieving something. That the various trusts of this organization, one of the centers of SWAHA International. This trust, one of our trusts, is that of education. And while we engage in many of the various activities, we always see Ramleela as one of the most relevant activities that enables us to achieve what we are desirous of achieving. And as we go through the slides this evening, I'll be able to point out that to you a little clearer. Firstly, I would like to just give you a little history of Ramleela, the Swaha Gyaan Jyoti Mandali. This being the first Ramleela conference that is taking place in Trinidad and Tobago. I think it is important, or it's a point of pride for me to let you know about the development of Ramleela at the Madras community, Swaha Gyaan Jyoti Mandali. I am aware that there are some communities that would have been celebrating Ramleela probably 100 and something years ago, that we are not that old as yet. That approximately 18 years ago, the Swaha Gyaan Jyoti Mandali was formed. When we now began our activities, we started at a home of individuals, so that a group of persons approached Swaha. They were interested in starting this organization in the community of Madras. Approval was given, and services started. At that time, we didn't have the type of support that we needed in order to have our entire Ramleela hosted by the temple. So what took place is that certain members, there were no regular service, etc. There was no spiritual leaders, no pundits that were conducting services regularly, so that the children would go to the front center, so that there was an interest in Ramleela. The children would go with the elders of the community to the Gyanipa Kirtan Mandali in Arangwes, and they would participate as part of the Gyanipak Ramleela. I remember seeing the children at that time. I was not spiritual leader of the Templars yet, but I always remember one of the members taking the children on the Rameshwar night, where the monkeys and bears will be building a bridge. That was the first time that the children of the Swaha Gyaan Jyoti Mandali participated in Ramleela. Some of those children right now, they are elders, they are not children anymore. They are middle-aged, they are married, they have their own children who are involved in Ramleela. Approximately 16 years ago, under the guidance of the current spiritual leader, myself, that a full-scale stage Ramleela was started in the community of Madras. So that 16 years ago, it was the birth of Ramleela on a full-blown scale at the center. This has, of course, continued up to today. Every single year since then, we have continued Ramleela. And what were the different dimensions of the Ramleela at that time, and that continues to be there? We had stage presentation, as Pandit Maideo mentioned, that Swaha started this idea of stage presentation instead of using the ground. So that was the first type of Ramleela that we had, where we did a full theater-type presentation. This was followed by a combination of the stage and the ground. We felt that if we use the entire space, both the ground and the stage, that we were able to create a different effect, that we had more space to play with, that we could have done more with the Ramleela, and it presented a more eclectic approach that we could have used to create a different impact and different effect. Of course, as the years continued, we started to use more of the multimedia in our presentation to make it more impacting devotees in terms of props, in terms of effects. Some of these things are used. One of the things that we did this year, this may seem to be very trivial, but this was a great innovation that we included this year. That, every year we would struggle and we would not print, but we would go and paint backgrounds, etc. But a painting, while it may be beautiful, it still doesn't capture an authentic environment. So that this year we printed large vinyl banners that will fit on the back of a 200 by 200 tent. And we did two. We did a palace background. We did a forest scene, because those are the two main scenes that you'd find in Sri Ramacharitra Manas. So that we took these pictures, we sent it by this signage company, and they printed these banners. And when you place that there, it really created a wonderful environment. So that these are just some of the innovation, some of the development that took place with Swaha Gyaan Jyoti Mandali over the years, from 16 years ago to present day. We just want to take a little walk down memory lane, because we are presenting Ramleela devotees, and it's a wonderful time to reflect. I know reflection always brings a certain feeling of nostalgia, happiness, and when you feel that way, it's wonderful to share with others, so that maybe whatever we present here can inspire others and bring back memory to you, because sometimes it is good to connect back to that initial idea of why did we do this? What is the purpose of doing Ramleela? Is Ramleela about Ramleela alone? Is preserving Ramleela about having this play in itself? Or does that fit within a context? And sometimes if the mind can be taken back devotees, it helps us to reconnect to that. So that what were some of the things we remember, or I remember about Ramleela? The first thing was that I played Ravan. Sometimes they say the Pandesha plays Sri Ram, but devotees, I played Ravan, and there's a reason for that. When Ramleela now started a community, and again, I'll show some of the context of the community, it's a community with a low socio-economic status. And at that time, devotees, because of the nature of persons, youths, and children, they felt that playing a Rakshas was a bad thing. So that we had a situation where everybody wanted to play Devatas. Everybody wanted their children to play monkeys and bears, and nobody wanted to play Rakshas. And you cannot have a Ramleela if that is the case. You need both sides. So that I felt that if I play Ravan, maybe I'll get some of the children to support me. And it did happen. So I played the role of Ravan. We had children, because the Pandit was playing the Rakshas, that parents didn't mind their children playing the Rakshas also. And we were able to get both sides and both camps, and we were able to conduct the Ramleela. The second thing I remember is that when we now started this thing, we were so excited. So that every night for at least one of the week, devotees go into the temple about 6:30, 7, remaining until about 11 o'clock in the night, just to ensure that we get this thing perfect, because it is the first time we are conducting Ramleela, and that excitement, that enthusiasm was there. When you see the cast dressed for the first time, you see the children well-dressed, you see all of the costuming, and the excitement on the face of the children, that is a memory that will stay with many of us until we die. Watching the community members arrive, that there is nothing like this within the community, that for 100, as someone recently said, devotees, there was this competition, and we did a little history tracing our center. And one of the members in the community, one of the foundation members, they said that for 100, and I can't remember how much years, 50 years or so, that there were Hindus living in that community, there was no temple, and there was no activity such as this. So devotees, the first time we started Ramleela, that it was there were great excitement in the community. And that when we saw the elders come out, the children, this sense of awe, this sense of gratitude and appreciation, that this is actually being organized, devotees, that after setting up all the chairs, that members came from very early, sat down to ensure that they could have seen Ramleela. There were people who were gathered at the side of the road, devotees, so not just those that were intimately involved, not just a member of the community, but as persons were passing up and down devotees, seeing that something is about to take place, then they stopped so that there was a large crowd at the side of the road. And building Ravan, that was exciting also, that we built a Ravan by someone's house, devotees, and we walked down the road with it, blocking traffic. Everybody didn't have the nicest thing to say to us, but that made no difference. That is a memory, that is lodged in the mind. Lifting, hoisting that Ravan up, devotees, seeing that effigy standing up high in the air, and watching that Ravan burn for the first time in the community of Madras, those are great memories for each and every one of us. Eating Palori, devotees, always a great feature of Ramleela. I'm sure that you'll all agree. And then presenting our cast, devotees, and looking at the joy on the face of the parents, to see the children, some of them not believing them children could even do things like this, but looking at the children and the joy on the face of the children, the joy on the face of the parents, that is something that is priceless. And devotees, of course, at the end of our Ramleela, that we had our first award ceremony where we presented all of these children with little trophies, little medals, etc., as a token of appreciation for the great sacrifice that they have made. So this is something, as we reflect on the history of Ramleela, the Swaha Gyaan Jyoti Mandali, these are some of the things that stand out. Devotees, it is important to understand the objective of the Ramleela. And as I said earlier, that for us, Ramleela is not about Ramleela in itself. That has to have some context. That is Ramleela, why are we doing it? What is the objective? What are we trying to get out of this Ramleela? As the first speaker identified, that there are many benefits that can come out of this. There's teamwork, collaboration, all of that. But there are many other activities that we can do that we can get the same benefit. I don't have to do Ramleela to build teamwork. We have many activities that could be done to do that same thing. I don't have to do Ramleela for collaboration. I don't have to do Ramleela for cultural integration. That is a specific purpose for engaging in Ramleela in this community of Madras. As I said, devotees, Ramleela is a medium, it's a means to an end. And these are some of the objectives. To complement the other activities of the center, lending to education and transformation in our membership. This is really the core responsibility, objective, vision, mission, whatever term you want to use, of the Swaha Gyaan Jyoti Mandali. We believe that in the context of our community, that education is important and transformation is important. And we see transformation not that you come Ramleela or you go temple, you feel good for 10 minutes, and then you go back to life as normal. Transformation means a permanent change in behavior, attitudes, beliefs, philosophy. That is what transformation is. And that the idea of Ramleela is a complement and supplement the other activities of the temple, so that we have academic classes, we have Swadeshi competition, we have quizzes, devotees, we have social service outreach programs. All of these are meant to come together and work in tandem with each other to achieve the purpose of educating our membership and bringing transformation. We want to create an environment where our youths, our members can socialize, an environment that is clean, devotees. We all know what that means, no need to elaborate on that. But there are many environments, many situations that our youths can find themselves in. We say that youths go astray, but if we do not do what we are supposed to do, if we do not create a substitute environment, then we are responsible also, so that we are doing our part to create a right environment so that our youths, our children, and others can be attracted to that, and they have the right environment to socialize. We want to propagate and maintain our dharma. This is part of our dharma. And as Pandit spoke, devotees, he spoke so much and elaborately and very wonderful about the teachings from the Sri Ramacharita. All this is our dharma. And in order to maintain that, we must know about it. If I don't know about it, I can't maintain it. So that propagation of dharma, maintenance of dharma, that is an integral part of the reason that we do Ramleela. We want to provide a positive avenue for youths to engage their energies, their passion, and their enthusiasm. We want to learn about the life of Prabhu Sri Ram. And again, devotees, why is that important? There is Sri Krishna. Why aren't we doing Krishna Leela? There are other forms of God, other manifestations. Why aren't we doing plays that are dedicated to those forms? Why is it that Ramleela is so important? Why is it that our children, our youths, our Hindus need to understand the life of Sri Ram? That is something that is important. And those are the type of questions that we need to ask. And that will give context to the importance of what we are doing here. And it's very simple, devotees, that Sri Ram is known as Manush Avatar. And Manush means man. And why is that? Is it because he came in the form of a man? Sri Krishna came in the form of a man. Vaman came in the form of a man. Parshuram came in the form of a man. But what is so different about Sri Ram? Devotees, Sri Ram came as a man living within the parameters and limitations of you and I. And that promise was given to Ravan that he will not be destroyed by anyone besides a man or a monkey. So devotees, even though that was God, when he was upon earth, he lived the same way as you and I, with the same limitation, or he would not have been man. And that promise that was given would not have been maintained. And Satyam, devotees, as we heard, is a pillar of Sanatana Dharma. So that Sri Ram is a relatable person. He's somebody that we can identify with. The trials, the tribulations, the emotions, everything that he went through, all of us can understand. And devotees, it is not about what he went through, but the way that he would have dealt with the lessons of what he can learn, devotees, that is what is so critical. And that is why it is important for every single one of us to understand Sri Ram and to understand this Ramayana. And this is why Sri Ramacharita Ramanas, through Ramleela, becomes so important. And that adds context to why each and every one of us should be doing what we are doing. And of course, you want to identify and develop talent within our temple. When you do Ramleela, you identify people who can act, people who can speak, people who can do all of these different things. And that helps with the continuity of our Hindu centers. Every single one of us here, we are going to die someday. What is going to happen to the future? That if we do not plant devotees, then everything is going to fall. And all of this here comes to nothing. So that part of why we do Ramleela is to identify talent, train that talent, so that there's continuity into the future. I'm just going to focus on one of the objectives, which is really the focus of the presentation, and that is what? Focus on the educational objective. How does Ramleela lend to the educational trust of the Swaha Gyaan Jyoti Mandali? I already mentioned that it is part of the entire, it's a complement to the other activities of the Hindu Center.
Permit me, Pandit, 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Right, so we must understand what is education, devotees, and education is transformation, growth in mindset, attitude, and behavior. We have already covered that. And of course, you must understand the context of the Madras community. I mentioned some of this. Low socioeconomic status, high school dropout rate, early marriage, teen pregnancy, alcohol use and abuse. Does it mean that these children or these youths do not have potential? Does it mean that they cannot achieve? Or does it mean that maybe the way that we believe we are doing things may not be the right way? And it's something that we can contemplate on. We saw that there's a low interest based on attendance at temple devotees, that people probably really don't want to come and hear a pundit preaching about Ramayana. So that may not be the best way of teaching. I want to take all of this together, devotees. We felt that there's a need for a different way of teaching, a different way of trying to educate devotees, and we saw that Ramleela, it presents that perfect opportunity or perfect tool in order to address some of these social ills. I just want to link this, and this is, I think, the second to last slide. Ramleela and multiple intelligence. I think the first person mentioned that Howard Gardner, one of the educational theorists, he mentioned 7 intelligences, devotees, and you can have a look at it. The intelligences, some description of what it is, and Ramleela engagement. So that when you look at all of those intelligences, that regardless of where a person may be, you may find someone who don't want to speak. That doesn't mean that they can't do something else. Someone may like to act, but they don't want to write a script. That's fine. Someone may love music. So that whatever the passion of that person, there's diversity. No two person here is the same. We are all different. And that is why something like Ramleela, it provides an opportunity for every single one of us, every single person in whatever community, whatever center, to be able to engage himself and to find something useful and to be able to learn. The final thing, devotees, evaluation of the Ramleela. That we are doing all of these things. How do you know it is working, devotees? There are some indications, and by these indications, we can draw certain conclusions. How do we know we are achieving our objectives? There's increased participation and enthusiasm over the years. Increased quality in all of the dimensions of the Ramleela. We are seeing better and better quality as we go along. Roles have changed significantly. And I remember a time when it all started that the Pandit was a scriptwriter, the director, the producer, everything else except the Palori maker. That is how it used to be. But now there's a Ramleela team. That different persons, now they would come to me and say, Pandit, this is the script, this is what you have written. We have already got the cast, we have started practicing, so that we see the separation of duty. And that means that there's growth and development. That Ramleela doesn't, it doesn't depend on one person. That is how it is supposed to be. And there's a movement from backstage narration to characters learning their lines and speaking. Up till 2 years ago, we had to do the narration. Now we have members who are brave enough to learn these lines and go on stage and say them. So that's an achievement and development for us. And open questions and discussions. Before we would do these things and you don't know if this is working, you would read Ramayana, you would do service, you'll do Ramleela, but nobody brings this together. I am seeing now where the youths of the temple, they are coming and asking questions. And that is a sign that there's some improvement. Whether this improvement is due to Ramleela alone, I cannot say that you can establish some correlation, but I can say that there's causation. And maybe that is something, and in fact it is something that requires more research. This is an academic institution, and maybe there's a challenge that somebody may want to take up to see if there's any causation between Ramleela and development of the person or the individuals. Thank you very much. Sitaram.